Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm over here playing Mortal Kombat 2. I didn't even see you guys come in. Let me just finish this round here real fast, and then we'll get back to it.
Fatality.
I wanted to do a little bit of a review on a version of Mortal Kombat 2. Let me just go ahead and stop this one real quick. A good Mortal Kombat 2. I was playing the arcade. There is a version that came out on Sega Saturn, and that's the one we're going to go over today.
You have come a long way, but are you ready for the future?
Introducing Sega Saturn. Aww. Hit it! Sega's next-generation gaming platform. Revolutionary sports and arcade gameplay. All with amazing new 3D experiences never before possible on home game systems. Wow.
Sega Saturn. It's how you play the game.
Sega Saturn was a 32-bit gaming console that released on November 22nd, 1994 in Japan, and in 1995 here in North America. But it didn't stay very long, and was discontinued in 98, and in Japan about 2000. It unfortunately failed against the PlayStation and the N64 at the time, and I remember around that time seeing the Saturn, but never really knowing how good the Saturn was. But we're not going to go into the complete details of the Sega Saturn. That's not why we're here. We're going to talk about the Mortal Kombat that was released on the Sega Saturn. Mortal Kombat 2 released on the Sega Saturn in 1996, and it was made by Probe. Oh boy, might as well probe a pile of chocolate hot dogs with the stick then, right? So I'm sure you remember Probe being the developer for the original Mortal Kombat on Sega Genesis. As we're looking at right here, oh look, there it is, Probe Development. And their first amazing mistake on this port is the selection box read, and their second amazing mistake is the music doesn't seem to end from the very beginning of the game to the selection to the tower, and then finally it changes on the fight, which sounds like ass. Sounds like somebody speaking in between butt cheeks as you play. And the graphics are very mediocre. They look like somebody smeared Vaseline all over the screen.
Fight. Get over here.
Half the time you barely hear any sound at all when you punch them or kick them. Sometimes even when you spare them. And then when you actually do a fatality on them, what was that noise? But hey, leave it to Probe to go ahead and make a watered down port. And again, we're back with Sega and another example of their past. And there we go. There's the Probe development team. See, the problem is, when they'd come out with these games, they'd half-ass them. Now on the selection screen, you can see it's better. The music's better. Still doesn't sound right. What's the da-da-da? What is that? That was never in the arcade. That doesn't happen. And then when you watch this gameplay here, it barely has the sounds from the arcade. They're not even really the sounds from the arcade. They're just one sound effect for each character, and all that is, huh, that's it. Even when they're killed, with the fatality. It's still the same sound effect. Yes, I'm sure when he's lit on fire, he's just gonna go, ugh! And why does it sound like farting sounds when they explode? Now, if you noticed, they were published by Acclaim. Hey, have you ever noticed, by the way, that Acclaim sounds like it's a claim to be good? And I only say that because sometimes they do come out with games that are good, like Mortal Kombat 2 on Super Nintendo. Great game. Probably the best port for the systems back then. And we're counting the Super Nintendo, the Sega Genesis, and clearly the Saturn when we come to that. It'll still be better than that. And the Saturn's supposed to be more powerful. When we get to it, you'll understand why the Super Nintendo's still better than that version. There was actually another released version of the PlayStation 1 that came out for that as well, and it's the same one that came out for the Saturn. While we're looking at the front of this box, I noticed that it says a new level of Mortal Kombat. And it's pretty funny that they say a new level of Mortal Kombat, because it's more like a new level of shittiness, and you'll see what I mean. Oh, the hilarity. The back of the box. You've never experienced this level of combat. It's the ultimate arcade translation you've been waiting for. This sounds really familiar. Oh, that would be why. Because here's the 32X version, and this is what it said on the back of the box. Rip into the real arcade action that the 32 megs of high-speed 32-bit processing can deliver. Trade up to faster gameplay, realistic character animation, state-of-the-art graphics, and the bone-crunching music and sound effects of the arcade smash. From Finish Him to Flawless Victory, you might have played it before, but nothing, they say huge, can prepare you for Mortal Kombat 2 on the 32X. So, we've already been through this before by the same company. Acclaim, the publisher, once again, has had many hits before, but Probe still was involved with this version as well. And as you can see, in this one, it's Acclaim with Probe. Now, skipping past all this, we're just going to go past this part here, right to the menu. They did okay with the menu. The colors look great and everything. It's like they had a little bit more power in this system, so they decided to do a little bit better. But as you can see, it looks better, but it still doesn't sound quite right. It has a mixture of good sounds and still that Sega fart noise. He throws a spear, it doesn't sound right. And even when it comes down to the fatality, you still have the same problem. You have the scream, but something that sounds like diarrhea flowing from an ass when they're set on fire, and then the fart when they explode. So let's get into the Sega Saturn version of Mortal Kombat 2, and we'll go over exactly why this port could have been a hell of a lot better, and where they're lacking. You had a 32-bit system that had a lot of powerhouse games. We had X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom, a lot of arcade ports that were damn near perfect, and sometimes just slightly better. They may have run better than the arcade version. You had a Street Fighter Alpha 3 version that was on the Sega Saturn that was actually better than the Dreamcast version and better than the arcade port. Or the arcade itself, to be exact. But yet in this one, for some reason, going with the wrong people, Probe, again, we got a piece of crap. So let's look at that game now. There we go. Acclaim again. And after Acclaim, we've got Probe. Oh, with a new look, it's like shining a turd. But what's going on here? Something doesn't sound quite right. This music does not sound right. It's like it's all mono, no stereo. And there's something wrong with the intro here. You'll see right after we get past the little segments of explaining what happened in the events of 1 into 2. And the graphics look Vaseline smeared once again. That's not right. It shouldn't go into that. And this part, it shouldn't happen here either. Something's not right. Let's look at the arcade version. Ah, there we go. Now that sounds much better. Sounds correct. And you'd think they'd at least try to put this part in here too. But of course, Probe did it all backwards and funny, and then they put this part after the intro, which didn't make any sense, and skipped the whole sequence that made that intro so cool. Alright, back to the Sega Saturn. Look at this character select screen after it catches up with the music, by the way. The box doesn't look right again. It's also red again, not green. And when you pick them, it doesn't even say their name. Where's Scorpion? Again, here's the arcade. As you can see, nothing about the Sega Saturn version sounds correct. This doesn't sound right going through the tower. Even this pit, the load for the uppercut. Look at that. The blood's off-centered.
Fatality.
When Fatality comes out, there's no sound effect.
Fight. Get over here.
If you notice, the AI doesn't even fight properly. Just as an example, I used Mylena to show you this in the second round. You don't even have to do the same thing you normally would do to beat her. That's how crappy this game has been put together.
Finish her.
And what is wrong with that toasty Fatality? The bones don't even fly properly. They didn't even try.
Fatality.
Example after example as you play this game. The AI is terrible, and look at this. That doesn't even have any sound. Not one single drip sound.
Fatality.
You know, as a longtime Mortal Kombat 2 fan, I wish there was something redeeming about this game, but there really isn't. Even this Fatality. What is going on? Why is there splash noises for the slash sound that should be there? Again, not even trying. Sounds are all misplaced.
Fight.
No round one, just straight up fight. Even Reptile's spit sound got cut off. And the punching and kick noises aren't even right. They don't even sound like they're hard hitting, bone crunching like the back of the box said. And this is literally how hard the AI is. Watch this nonsense. This is all you have to do from the beginning of the game to the end. Then, Kintaro's a little bit different. Well, before we fight Kintaro, we gotta fight Shang Tsung. Why do the graphics get worse when you fight Shang Tsung? For some reason, when he morphs, it triggers the graphics to look even worse. And not to mention the terrible loading in between him morphing. At least the PlayStation and Sega Saturn, when they did their port of Trilogy, the loading wasn't that bad. And a silent babality. Then we get to Motaro. Now Motaro normally would have an AI you can counter with jump kicking if you time it with this uppercut. But while you're fighting him, the game loads. So it makes it almost impossible to time that kick with this uppercut. So just about every time you get hit by that uppercut. And if you notice when he teleports, it's like he takes off like a rocket ship for a split second. It took me a few tries to actually beat Motaro because of the weird loading in between the game. But when you finally beat him, again, the crowd is completely silent. Nothing about Motaro's roars or anything sounded correct in this. This whole fight was awkward. I'm glad I didn't have to keep on continuing against him. But when I was done with him, then we got to Mr. Shao Kahn. By the way, not one single time did it ever say Scorpion wins. Now let me show you how hard Shao Kahn is in this version of Mortal Kombat 2. This is straight up pitiful. You could just do this the whole time. That's terrible. And when you do beat him, this is what you get.
No. No.
That is all wrong. This is what it should look like.
No. No.
That was way better. I don't understand how they could mess up something so simple like the ending sequence for Shao Kahn dying. That's kind of important. Now, right after Shao Kahn explodes on the terrible ending of the Sega Saturn, it's not too bad. You can see this part's alright, but the words are wrong. Now, the endings itself, they're okay. They're all here. But the only problem is they all look like they're smeared in Vaseline still. Again, no music, no sound at all, when there should be music playing while the ending's going. But this game lacks so much sound, it's ridiculous. And you think the simplest part that they could do would be the credits. The credits aren't even correct. There's not even a character ending credit. They just go ahead and give you the credits. This is what they should have gave us at the end of this game. At least try. Probe. This is probably why they don't exist anymore. This game is got to be the worst port I've ever played of Mortal Kombat 2. The PlayStation 1 port of this game is the same because it's a port of this game. So, you can't even blame the PlayStation 1 as it being its fault because it's just a port of this crappy game onto that system. So the worst Mortal Kombat 2 port ever made is this one for the Sega Saturn. Nothing tops it. And hey, listen, I understand some of you are going to say, hey, there's other ports out there, like DOS. Some people don't like DOS. Or other ports that you may have played that have been terrible. But I'm talking about capable systems, okay? The Sega Saturn is clearly capable. And Probe didn't even try. They didn't even try. They were just like, let's get that quick money. We're going to put out Mortal Kombat 2 because right now Mortal Kombat 2 is successful. So this game definitely gets the stamp of shit. Because that's what it is. It's in my collection. Just because it's something that I did remember seeing, hey, in a magazine one time, they got Mortal Kombat 2 on Sega Saturn and PlayStation, huh? That was later. I thought maybe it'd be good. And all these years later, I get it, and it's shit. It's a shiny turd. Anyways, guys, this is Noob Zero, and I'm out. Till next time.
That is one big pile of shit.